All right, everybody, Bryce here, coming at you with another real quick crypto market update. Very clearly a big week in the markets. We started the week with a really big breakout, and we're ending the week with a little bit of a drawdown, but not by much. On Bitcoin, just around 5 or 6%. On many of the altcoins, around 10% before we saw what looks to be a recovery bounce. Many of these crypto coins have hit their 20-day moving average. And found support. So I don't think that this is the beginning of any larger correction. I think it's just a function of a couple things. The first was that the leverage in the market had started to creep up a bit. And what do I mean by the leverage? Well, we could kind of quantify that by looking at the annualized funding rates on the futures market for altcoins, basically, and Bitcoin. So when you look at that APR, when that APR is really high, it means that traders are paying exorbitant amounts of money just to get long, right? To borrow money to get long. So high funding rates exhibit lots of bullish leverage or lots of long leverage. Now, really low funding rates, where sometimes it's negative 100, means that shorts are paying a lot of money just to get short, okay? So there's a binary there. But it is a gradient in a sense, because it could go up to, thousands of percent to go long or thousands of percent to go short. And sometimes it's really around 20% or, negative 20%. Those are kind of the averages. But in recent times, we've seen funding rates above 100% across the altcoin market, which means people were borrowing a lot of money to get really long at really high levels. And when that happens, the market just tends to be prone to a correction. The market's in a state of over exuberance, if you will. I think you probably see that in some of the meme coin mania. I don't know if you guys saw Dog with Hat now is just raised, I think, $650,000 to buy a night on the Vegas Sphere. They're going to be advertising just the Dog with Hat. It's a crazy meme coin. So signs of like that kind of froth, that kind of exuberance in the market leave the market prone to sharp corrections, because you just see there's kind of a lot of dumb money in the market. And so one of the things I wanted to bring up was that in this past liquidation over the course of the past, call it 48 hours, when Bitcoin really traded sharply lower from $73,000 all the way down to around $64,000, $65,000, right? I mean, kind of a big correction, about $8,000. Ethereum as well broke down from 4,100 around to 3,600. So what that really was that leverage being expunged, very sharply wiped out. So that's good. A lot of that short-term trading action wiped out that leverage, and you saw those funding rates come back in line with historical averages, where it means you're back in kind of a more healthy environment. So hopefully none of you guys got caught up in that liquidation. Hopefully you guys weren't using leverage and that you guys are just holding spot and chilling. I'm not selling any of my coins. I think that this is continuing to be a great time in the market, primarily for that reason. And another really big reason is that the Bitcoin ETFs have continued to smash records. There's now $58 billion in these Bitcoin ETFs over the course of the past 8 weeks. By the way, it took the gold ETFs 21 years to get to $98 billion in assets. So we are more than halfway there, and we've done it in 8 weeks, and it took gold 21 years. So I'm really excited about those flows. BlackRock just smashed another record. They took in a full $1 billion of daily inflows. I think that was on Tuesday, March 12th. That was a really big record, and the rest of the coins continue to have a strong, first half of the trading week until all this leverage really kind of built up and finally rolled over. But I think we're in a good spot now that leverage has been wiped out. The ETFs are really strong. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is that there is still a lot of money that's sidelined that hasn't bought into Bitcoin yet, okay? So these are a lot of the big banks, what you'd call a wirehouse, Bank of America's Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo. These, advise client funds and all that kind of stuff for investments. They have not yet greenlit the Bitcoin ETF for all of their clients. Now, they are on a unsolicited basis. Basically, if you go in and you demand your broker, your client advisor, your financial advisor, if you demand them to put your money in Bitcoin ETFs, they will. But they haven't sort of started to solicit these on their websites and on their products. But the rumor mill is starting to churn out this notion that within the next couple months, that is going to be green lit. So that's another whole cohort of buyers, investors that previously have not been invested into crypto who are now going to be buying. So that's trillions of dollars, mind you. And some of the larger financial advisors and institutions are still doing their diligence on these trading products. A lot of the times when an ETF goes live, it takes 3 to 6 months for these sort of large financial institutions to greenlight and start to offer it to their clients because they want to see how it trades, right? I mean, in theory, it could be great, but they actually want to see what are the bid-ask spreads. What's the liquidity, right? What's the daily traded volume? There's so many metrics that they need to analyze in a live trading environment before they can offer it. So we've only seen the tip of the iceberg in terms of the Bitcoin ETF. I think the flows are going to continue. I think we've got around $25 billion of inflows, $25 to $23 billion of inflows this year alone. Remember, the Grayscale ETF started with about 25 or $30 billion of capital already. And so with that, some analysts are saying we're going to expect another 25 by the end of the year, and that's expecting a slowdown in those flows. But if we get a constant rate, things could be as high as $100 billion of inflows this year, considering we had 25 in the first quarter. So there's a lot of numbers thrown at you. I know it's a lot, but it's really important to stay attentive to the market, it's attentive to your portfolio. You do not want to be caught asleep at the wheel right now, especially in the very early innings of a bull market, guys. There's still big money coming. And the last thing I wanted to say was Coinbase is really lobbying hard for this Ethereum ETF. Now, BlackRock and Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, I think 5 other large financial institutions, they've already filed for, and VanEck, right? That was the other one. They've already filed for Bitcoin or Ethereum ETFs. And what's interesting here is the SEC is trying to push back and say, well, the correlations between Ethereum futures and Ethereum spot hasn't been strong enough over the past 3 years, hasn't been liquid enough, all this kind of stuff. They're trying to backtrack. But Coinbase is going out, pulling no punches. They're saying, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Here's our correlation analysis. They're saying the bid-ask spreads on these products have been just as tight as Apple stock and just as tight as Amazon stock and tighter than pretty much every other stock outside of those two. The liquidity as well has been deeper or just as deep as, the top 5 stocks in the world for Ethereum. And so they're saying that, there is no good reason to deny it, especially since the futures ETF already trades and it was already approved by the SEC. And so remember, Grayscale was suing the SEC for their Bitcoin ETF spot approval. They ended up winning that. That kind of ushered in this whole wave. So they're saying that the precedent that was set in that court applies to Ethereum. So we'll see whether it's May or whether it's maybe later in August. The jury's still out. There's still a little bit of wiggle room there. But I'm confident that it's coming. Okay, I'm confident that it's coming at some point. I just don't know exactly when. And if anybody tells you they know exactly when, they're lying to you because nobody could tell the future. But you could have pretty good estimates. Life is all about probabilities, certainly not deterministic. So there's a lot that's going on in markets, and it's really important to stay apprised. So make sure you give us a follow and stay tuned. And also, by the way, if you want a service where you could get continual market updates, technical analysis, fundamental analysis, in-depth reports, deep dives, research, and all of that good stuff, well, then I suggest you hit that button below or hit the link. For $1, you could get a 2-week trial to something that I call Crypt Nation. Okay, we've got over 10,000 crypto traders and investors that are subscribed to our research, get our newsletters, get our buy zones, sell zones, all that good stuff. And for just $1, you could come and check it out. Highly encourage you guys to try that trial. 2 weeks, $1, and we'll see you inside.